Good
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Somebody joins late, I'll let them in. Welcome to the January meeting, general meeting. I hope you're all doing well, staying safe, and a couple of announcements. Nita's going to teach next month, Nita Howard, on security. I'm looking forward to that because I even struggle with that. I've got a spreadsheet 7 pages long, and hopefully she can simplify that for us. So I'm really looking forward to that. We are changing slots with the board, the big board. So starting next month, and I'll be sending out announcements in the communicator, will be the second Wednesday of the month, and we'll go back to our 10 o'clock traditional meeting time. So the second Tuesday instead of the third. So where you used to tune into the board meeting, you'll turn into us. And where you used to tune into us, you'll tune into the board meeting. And hopefully both of them will be in the Fiesta room sooner than later. If you haven't gotten on YouTube and looked for Sunflower Tech Club, I encourage you to do that. It has recordings of all of our meetings this year, except for the first one, which I failed to record, my bad, with Patrick Chamberlain. But the rest of them are up on the YouTube channel, United for Sunflower. I think Jenny's found it. Am I right? Feel free to look that up, and if you have trouble, give me a call and I'll help you walk through that so you can find it. The other item we have on the docket before Sean gets started is that we have a need in the community. You guys are real fortunate because you obviously know enough about tech to get on this call, but there are still some people that don't even have email. And to sign up for the injections, it's kind of apparent you need email. And so if you are available to help set up a Gmail account for someone, or even, I guess it's very time intensive, but if you'd want to buddy with someone and help them walk through that process of trying to get signed up, it would be great. Please, just shoot me an email or give me a call, and we're going to work on that with the core group as well, and try to get help to some of these people that have no way of working within the system they set up to get signed up for their injections. So I'd appreciate, like I say, just email me, text me. We've got some people working on that, and hopefully we can get some people help. I appreciate you as Tech Club members, reaching out and helping the community. And we'll be working on this for the next few days, see if we can get some people helping people that can. So, but with that, without further ado, Sean, take it away. I'm looking forward to it.
And welcome everybody today to the Tech Club meeting. We have a lot of fun things to talk about. You can just kind of listen, sit back, have fun. I'm going to ask you some questions, so think to yourself some of the answers as well. And we welcome all those who are new to the Tech Club as well, because we get a number of people who come on YouTube and watch this after the fact who are new. So we welcome all of you as well to the Tech Club. Thank you goes out to Tim and Jenny and Lorraine for continuing the Tech Club here into the new year. So we're very grateful for all the excellent work you all do. And we're going to continue showing you pieces of information here on the cards as we did last month. And as best we can, we're going to speak in plain English. There's a lot of technicalities involved in what we're doing today. Because of the fact there's a lot of technicalities, and with people that are new that come on board all the time, I like to use examples of other things that we're familiar with, because when we talk about something we're familiar with, we move a topic we're familiar to something we're less familiar with. And that's why I introduced the topic of Perry Mason, because I figured you all know something about Perry Mason, so you'll see how it's relevant in just a moment. ordinarily you might say these things are a little silly, but they help with people that are new to the technical world of technology, and it will help. So the statement begins like this. And it is, Perry Mason and Bella Street were married. Now, when I raised this about once every 2 years, if we sit at a big group for lunch or something like that, people will immediately say, oh no, I know that factually that's untrue. Because of the fact that I have watched the television shows, I have watched the movies that were in the early 80s and all the way through the early 90s. And by the way, they'll say, I have read some of those Perry Mason books by Earl Stanley Gardner, which, by the way, there's 82 of those novels. They say, so we know this isn't true, and I know what you're doing, they will say. You are just trying to get a reaction out of me. And I will say, yes, in many ways that is true. However, the statement is true. And they'll go, what? And it's a very simple reason. See if you can think to yourself why something like that could be true. The reason is because of the fact that Raymond Burr is in essence the fourth actor to play Perry Mason, not the first. The first actor to play Perry Mason was Warren Williams. And in the case of The Velvet Clause, that was his fourth movie in 1936, he and Bella Street were married. They were married at the beginning of the movie, and before they had an opportunity to go on their honeymoon, he had a case come up, and he had to go on that case, and he didn't get the honeymoon until the movie was over. So Perry Mason and Bella Street were married in a movie back in the 1930s. So why do we say this? Because I have something for you to listen to now. Okay, and here we go. Now listen to this phone call. Sorry about the small delay, but here we go.
So how can I help you?
Hi, I'm calling to book a women's haircut for a client. I'm looking for something on May 3rd.
Sure, give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, what time are you looking for around?
At 12 p.m.
We do not have a 12 p.m. available. The closest we have to that is a 1:15.
Do you have anything between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m.?
Depending on what service she would like. What service is she looking for?
Just a woman's haircut for now.
Okay, we have a 10 o'clock.
10 a.m. is fine.
Okay, what's her first name?
The first name is Lisa.
Okay, perfect. So I will see Lisa at 10 o'clock on May 3rd.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Great. Have a great day. Bye.
Okay, everybody, I'm going to go back to full screen here. Just give me a moment. Now, you heard that phone call. What's interesting about both of these callers is that the caller calling both the restaurant and the caller calling the hair salon are computerized voices. And I welcome all of you to the world of artificial intelligence. These callers who called the restaurant and called the hair salon are robots. It shows us how far artificial intelligence has come in the 21st century. And I also would like to point out the vocal characteristics of the callers that made it seem like there's callers, so what? I've heard calls to restaurants, I've heard calls to hair salons before, so what? But listen to the characteristics of some of the two voices. They have pauses, they go, and they have intonations, and they have other human-like characteristics. So if we can, I'm going to try one more time to, let's see if I go to speaker view. How do I get to the small screen, Margaret? I'm just trying to get to the small screen gallery view. How do I get there? I did it the last time. And I'm going to let you listen to the caller again. One more time, exit full screen. Okay, we're going to listen to the last phone caller. How do I get it over? What? Oh, okay, this one here. All right. We're going to listen to the last caller one more time. And now listen to this caller because the caller is a computer.
So how can I help you?
Hi, I'm calling to book a women's haircut for a client. I'm looking for something on May 3rd.
Sure, give me 1 second.
Remember, this is a computer.
Sure, what time are you looking for around?
At 12 p.m.
We do not have a 12 p.m. available. The closest we have to that is a 1:15.
Do you have anything between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m.?
Depending on what service she would like. What service is she looking for?
Just a woman's haircut for now.
Okay, we have a 10 o'clock.
10 a.m. is fine.
Okay, what's her first name?
The first name is Lisa.
Okay, perfect. So I will see Lisa at 10 o'clock on May 3rd.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Great. Have a great day. Bye.
So welcome everybody back again. And now you've had an opportunity, now that you know what it was, to be able to listen to artificial intelligence. What caused a lot of controversy, which I didn't know at the time, and it's changed artificial intelligence forever, is the fact that this caller, both of the callers, could not identify themselves as being computer voices. And in the field of artificial intelligence, this caused a furor. And it's changed forever because now those artificial voices, computerized robotical voices, must tell us that they are a computer voice. That's what changed about that. Now that's vocal, that's what we hear. There also now is what is called GPT-3. GPT-3, not too concerned at all about what it means, but it means generative pre-trained transformer generation number 3. Basically, this is artificial intelligence rights. This is the written artificial intelligence. It can write essays, poetry, stories, text, blogs. It's artificial intelligence from San Francisco, and it very much produces human-like text. If you're familiar with autocomplete on a computer, if you start to write down, let's say, Y-O-U-T, and on your computer, it fills it out for you and already spells out youtube.com, that's a form of artificial intelligence. This particular GPT-3 has over 145 billion pieces of information to it. And I had a chance to go on a website because our next topic is going to be on a website that uses GPT-3. And because our next topic is going to be on 5G, I asked this GPT-3 to write for you, the Technology Club, a very brief intro of what 5G is all about. And here I wrote it down, hope you got it close enough. Here is what 5G is all about according to GPT-3 for you, the Sunflower Tech Club. Gives you an idea about our next topic, and this is all written by a computer. No person wrote this. It's very well written. It'll cover some of the things we're going to talk about in just a few moments. Everybody done? Okay. 5G, basically, by the way, does anybody have any questions on artificial intelligence or anything on GPT-3, just in terms of general? Okay, it's really very straightforward, and it's fascinating because when we enter technology, this is the first time our Sunflower Tech Club has ever covered artificial intelligence, and we're just doing a little bit to kind of introduce you in terms of what it is, so now you'll have a better handle on what it is. 5G technology basically means the G is 5th generation. If that sounds a little complicated to you, what it really means is it's the 5th version, it's the 5th update of 5G. And 5G basically comes, as far as we're concerned, into 2 categories. The first is with our cell phones, And the second category is broadband. That's from wireless TV channel signals that will come, well, it's very much like cable TV, that will come to our homes. The cell phones. There's a history of 5G. We started with 1G with analog voice for cell phones back around early 1980s, 1982 roughly. Then we went to 2G, which is digital voice and text. That came about 10 years later, each one of these about 10 years later. And we had 3G early around 2002, or earlier part of this century. But that introduced smart cell phones, which all of us have now, and also videos that could be watched on 3G. And then we moved to high definition videos, 4G. That was about 10 years ago, 10 years ago, for high definition videos on 4G. And now, as you saw, the GPT-3 wrote, 5G signals the beginning of smart cities. What's smart cities? Well, smart cities are things like street lights that talk to one another so that they can improve the flow of traffic. It will also deal with telemedicine, driverless cars, mobile TV in the back seats of automobiles and SUVs and trucks and other things of that nature. And 5G will be about 10 times faster than the current 4G networks. And also, by having 5G, what really is nice about it is that it lightens the load on the 4G networks we have going on right now. So it really has a lot of positive advantages to it. But 5G comes in a couple different flavors. Right now, 5G is what is called non-standalone. That's what we have right now. Don't let the big word of non-standalone confuse you. Basically, what it means is that it is built on top of 4G networks. It does not replace the 4G standard that we have up until right now. It simply lays on top of it. Now, what's the advantage of that? Well, it's unnecessary for carriers like Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile to add new hardware. They can just use whatever's up on those cell phone towers and flip a switch, and 5G has begun. So the carriers can roll out 5G much quicker in this manner. Now, what they're trying to get to, the 5G networks, is what is called standalone. And standalone is where all cell phone calls will no longer go to 4G, it will go straight to the 5G network. The carriers, therefore, will have to add new hardware, and they're going to be adding new hardware for 5G starting this year, at the end of this year, especially 2021. They're going to be working on this new hardware because the virus has slowed a lot of technology up in 2020 and 2021 as we're starting. So because it's held a lot of it up, they'll be starting the end of this year, and they could be working on that hardware for the next 3 or 4 years to get a 5G standalone system. As far as what they have right now, the carriers, it's 5G non-standalone, built on top, like this, built on top of the 4G network. I'm going to use an example for you. I think it's going to make it easier. We're going to use the example of women's shoes. And we're going to start with high heel shoes because there's limited usage for high heel shoes. Women could wear high heel, let's say 4 or 5 inch shoes if they're going to something formal, like if they're going to a formal event like a wedding or something like that. But they're not really inclined to wear high heels to shopping and to outlet malls and things of that nature. That is comparable to high band 5G. And in 5G high band, what we will have is what's called millimeter wave. You can see it over here on this side here. Millimeter wave is very fast, but it has a difficulty. The difficulty with what's called millimeter wave is that it has a difficulty penetrating through walls, through windows, even leaves can disrupt what is called the high band millimeter wave. So what happens is that they put millimeter wave now in things such as NFL stadiums, convention centers, and places like that in cities. As a matter of fact, Verizon right now is in 61 cities with its millimeter wave. They are the leader for millimeter wave, high band, very fast speeds. How fast? Rather than using a lot of geeky terms, I will say the number is 1,000 to 1,100. It's really called megabits a second, but that gets difficult. We're just going to use about 1,000 to 1,100. Remember that number, that range of numbers, because now we'll move into mid-band. Now, mid-band is comparable to mid-high heels, and we'll say there that one is wearing 2 to 3 inch high heels. So they're mid, they're not the real highest high heels, and they're not to be worn really to block parties or to the pool, but it's comparable to the mid-band 5G. Why? Because the mid-band 5G is really the sweet spot. It's not really fast in terms of the millimeter wave. The speeds here are about 300, 400, 500. You can see it's about half to slightly below what the very fast high band is at millimeter wave. However, T-Mobile is the only one in the United States right now who is doing mid-wave, and that's the best place to be, but they're the only one. We'll now move to flat shoes. Flat shoes I'm referring to here as being like tennis shoes or sandals. This is comparable to 5G low band. The advantage of flat shoes and tennis shoes and sandals is that you can wear them to the shopping mall, the outlet mall, the Walmart, Costco, wherever else you go, you can wear them all over. Low band is the same way. They're radio waves that travel all over. They travel very far, but their speeds are far slower than the mid-band or high band above it. Their speed range might be 75 to 200. Now remember, the high band's like around 1,000, 1,100, and even faster. But this is about 75 to 200, 250, and that kind of a range. T-Mobile is the largest of all the low-band carriers in the United States. Right now, they're reaching about 275 million people. And AT&T is the second largest. AT&T is reaching about 225 million potential consumers right now on low band. Most of what we're hearing for 5G is going to be on low band, built on top of the 4G down here. What has made 5G so popular that it seems like every commercial, every 10 minutes or every 15 minutes on television is dealing with 5G? Why is that? Because Apple this past fall came out with the Apple iPhone 12. The iPhone 12 has popularized 5G tenfold, the end of 2020 and now into 2021. They released 4 cell phones, and all of their cell phones have high band on them, millimeter wave, which means they have 4 little antennas in the various spots on the cell phones that can pick up the high band. Remember, the high band, though, is in NFL stadiums, convention centers, whatever. For us out here in the suburbs, do we really need to get into 5G at the moment and pay more money? And the answer is no, we do not. Because really, the 5 band and the low band isn't that much faster yet than 4G. Now, if you recall, I said there's two different kinds of 5G. The first is with the cell phones, and the second is with 5G broadband. 5G broadband basically is what brings cable TV channels into our homes. Wireless TV signals basically are broadcast into houses, apartment complexes, condos, and business buildings. Verizon and T-Mobile have just begun expanding broadband right now. If you're curious about if broadband comes to our home, an example of about how much it might cost, well, right now, Verizon charges about $50 to $70 a month for broadband, and it's up to about 300 is the speed. Now, you remember the speed of 1100 with 5G. With broadband, it would come in about 300. Most of what we would get from Xfinity Comcast, what you would get from Dish, is probably in the range of 25 to 100. The terminology is megabits a second, but we're not going to use all the technicalities. 25 to 100 is a pretty good range. Some people have up to 200. It's a little overkill, but 25 to 100 is a good range to get high definition video. And basically what happens here is they put a receiver in the home, and the receiver in the home will then relay the signal from the broadband coming outside our home to our router, and our router will then send it to the TV or to our cell phones or anything else for which we may want to watch the various signals. One more thing that's really important in terms of 5G is that those radio waves are very, very short. And because of the fact they're short, what happens is when they build the 5G millimeter wave high band in the city, it looks like my hand here in essence. It's a rectangle. And it will be a white box placed on top of a telephone pole. Use my arm as the telephone pole, and then we'll communicate with another band like this, another device, looks like very much like a hand, about 100, 200, 300 feet away. So it goes from here over to here in terms of how it's communicated. But it doesn't go very far, and they call that line of sight. That's how millimeter wave is. And that's why millimeter wave is really not coming out into the suburbs. It's going to be in more densely populated areas. So in essence, that gives us a little bit of an idea in terms of what 5G is all about today in the 21st century. Do you have any questions on 5G?
You got it, kid.
Somebody say something? You okay? You're comfortable with 5G? That's basically what it is for cell phones and for broadband. And do we need it now? The answer is no, we do not. Okay, next, another example. And we're going to use Perry Mason again, but now you know as we're catching on what's going to happen. The statement this time is going to be Raymond Burr, playing Perry Mason, was sent to jail. Now, you know what's going to happen. Folks that sit around, and they have said it many times. I've watched the TV show, I've watched the movies in the 80s and 90s with Raymond Burr, and I've read the books, and I know there's no way Raymond Burr ever gets sent to jail. You're getting a reaction out of us, but now we've caught you. Well, the truth of the matter is, it is true. And they'll go, what? It is true. How can that be? Seems as though many years ago, there was someone who realized that when you're doing comedy, that it is unnecessary for you as a comedian to do all the funny lines. If you give funny lines to your stars and your guest stars, you will have many people coming on your television show who at the time would not go on TV. As a matter of fact, this person was able to get Gary Cooper, Marilyn Monroe, Humphrey Bogart, and many other people to appear on the Jack Benny show because Jack Benny's writers would write the funny lines for the guest stars. Raymond Burr was able to convince, Jack Benny was able to convince Raymond Burr would show up on his television show the one time and play Perry Mason on the Jack Benny show. And when Raymond Burr played Perry Mason on the Jack Benny show, everything that happened on the hour-long TV show went wrong for Perry Mason, and Perry Mason was the one convicted by the judge and was sent to jail. Now, why does this matter? Well, it matters in terms of what's coming up next, because now we're going to talk about 3.0, the next generation of TV. These are TV signals that come over the air from television towers. It's called 3.0, the next generation of TV. And very recently, I saw on a truck here in Tucson the following. KOLD 13 CBS TV affiliate. In order to get the next generation of TV, we have to have an antenna hooked up to our television set, whether it be in the room, whether it be in the attic, or whether it be on the roof. Well, how does this look? KOLD 13 CBS TV affiliate. Technically, there's something very untrue about this truck that drives around, and I've seen a number of them. What's untrue about it is that KOLD has not been on channel 13 for many years in Tucson. As a matter of fact, KOLD TV in Tucson has been on channel 32 for many years. But when your scanner on your TV set goes to channel 32, what is displayed on your TV is KOLD 13. Now, we're having fun with this because in many cities, it is exactly the same way. Let me give you an example. Here in Tucson, 3.0 over the air, call letters, as you can see, channel 13 is really on channel 32 digital. Fox here at KMSB 11 is really on channel 25. KTTU, which calls themselves My TV on channel 18, is really on channel 19. KGUN ABC 9 in Tucson is truly on channel 9. But over in Oro Valley, there's another television tower that repeats the signal for those in Oro Valley, and it is on channel 27. So their TV over in Oro Valley will scan to channel 27. And when it scans to 27, it displays KGUN 9, even though KGUN 9 in Oro Valley is not on channel 9. The reason why we mention this is because we're now in the digital age. This is perfectly okay if TV stations do this. Every city has it. What the TV stations are doing, do you remember the days of the rotary dial back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the early aughts, where you would have on this side, you would have a channel 2 through 13, and you would click, 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 and have to get up and turn your rotary dial on the TV. And over here, you would have UHF channels 14 to 83, and you would have to click like this and go to the various channels. If we had that today, you would have to find, for example, channel 13 on channel 32 on your rotary dial. So what's happening here? What's happening is that the TV stations in the digital age have been migrating away from the VHS channels and moving to the higher UHS channels. The UHF channels are now channel 2 through 36. Back when we grew up, they were on channels 2 through 83, if you recall, on that little rotary dial. They've compressed it. What's on some of those 37 on-up channels? 5G is coming on to some of those channels. 4G is on there. Police scanners are on those channels now. So what's happened is it's been compressed. And they found in cities, especially where it's flat terrain, that VHS television signals in the digital age, that is from 2009 until now, travel further if they're on UHF than VHF. So channel 13 is moved to 32, channel 11 is moved to 25, et cetera, et cetera. And they've done that so they can get their signal in the digital age to go out much better. Now, what this basically means is that the TV signals that we are receiving right now from the television towers, and in the world of technology, they call those television towers sticks because they look like sticks in the sky. Those TV towers that are broadcasting those signals are broadcasting in what is called 1.0 digital, 1.0. But we are moving to 3.0. And as we move to 3.0, we're having a whole new technology being introduced to it. What is the first city in the United States who began with 3.0? The answer is north of us, Phoenix. Phoenix now has what's called the model market. Phoenix also has Pearl TV broadcasting. What they have done is they have assembled Sony, Samsung, LG, and all sorts of different broadcasting companies like Sinclair. And they've got them all together and they said, we're going to start to broadcast 3.0. So it is now voluntary for stations to go from the current 1.0 standard to the 3.0, what's called Next Generation TV standard. They don't have to do it. In 2009, 12 years ago, like this, we switched from the old analog TV signals that come off the TV towers to the current TV signals. You know, in all honesty, the analog signals are better. Because analog, if you didn't quite get the picture in, you could still get this snowy picture. Today, if you can't get the picture, it just cuts out and you get a blank screen. So in essence, what's happened is those 1.0 signals are really not very good. They're kind of built on the old signals from the analog era, which began in the 1940s, specifically in 1947. So the 3.0 is saying 1947 is archaic. We need to move to more powerful signals, and that is what is in the process of happening right now. So back then, I'm going to read down there. When we had analog signals, I hope you can see this okay. Here's an old Zenith box that we had to take, and on the back, you can see these red, white, and yellow up here. These right in here, red, white, and yellow. This is what we attached. We had a TV from 2005 or 1990 to be able to get the new 1.0 digital signals from our television towers. And you can see here, this is a Zenith box. This is what it looked like. Now, the reason why I point this old box out is because in order to be able to get the TV signals from 3.0 in the near future, if that's what we're after, we're going to also have to have some sort of adapter. We're going to have a new television set, or we're going to have what looks like one of those fire sticks that goes at the side of the TV. But do not become concerned, because 1.0 will remain with us for 5 years from the outset, the start of 3.0. So in Phoenix, with NBC and ABC and CBS switching to 3.0, a minimum of 5 years, they will also broadcast on the current 1.0 frequency, while they're also simulcasting, meaning at the same time, on the new 3.0. Now, 3.0, what are the advantages? Why are we switching? We just switched 12 years ago. Well, here are some of the advantages of 3.0, the next generation of TV. We're going to have what is called the high definition. It's really called 4K. And if one time we ever talk about TVs, we can talk about wide color gamut, 4K, all the other various technologies that go in the TV. But right now, for all practical purposes, it's going to have a much better picture. It's going to have movie theater sound. In other words, the sound coming out of the TV is not going to be anything like what we have now. Also, it's going to have dialogue enhanced. In other words, if you're listening to a particular football game or baseball game or any kind of a thing where people are in the background or whatever, you can click the dialogue enhancement. It makes it much easier to hear a game show, a newscast, anything with dialogue enhancement. It will be part of what's coming over the air on the next generation of TV, which, by the way, is already in Phoenix. We'll get to the cities in a moment. If you've ever listened, when you're listening to the TV, you will know that many times you hear commercials much louder than the regular TV show. That is annoying. We're going to have consistent volume level on all TV stations. Also, it's going to be internet interactive. We're going to be using our smart TVs, and it's going to be connected to the internet. And you're going to be able to, maybe they come on and say, okay, we'd like to show you something that happened, for example, in the news today. And they talk about it, let's say, on one of our local channels for 1 minute. But on the side here, on the side of the TV, it will have, if you'd like more information for a 5 or 10 minute major review of what we're talking about, you can click on that, and you'll click on that, and it'll take you to an expanded version of what they're talking about now, already pre-recorded for you. So that's the advantage of having the internet interactive using your smart TV. The commercials that we see will be more local. In other words, rather than watching commercials for a half minute or a minute to deal with South Tucson or East Tucson or whatever, we will be getting more commercials. Will be in Marana, Dove Mountain, Oro Valley at the same time. So while someone in South Tucson is watching a commercial for something for a car dealership in South Tucson, we'll be watching for a car dealership that may be in Oro Valley or Marana. That's what it means by targeted local commercials in our local viewing area. If you wish, there's emergency alerts that you can click or opt in. There's a button. This is particularly important for those, let's say, in hurricane zones, where there's tornadoes, for example. Emergency alerts can be very important. This is part of the signal that's going to be sent over the air. And right now, we have about, on channel 4 here in Tucson, we have 4 sub-channels. We have 4.1 to 4.5. Now, what are sub-channels? Well, sub-channels are like Me TV, Cozy TV, Beck TV, and so forth. They're going to be able to have on any one channel, like 4, 11, or 13, easily 16 sub-channels, which means tons more of broadcasting coming out over the air on 3.0. What cities, how many cities do we have? How popular is this? Well, you can see 3.0 next generation of TV, U.S. cities broadcasting. There's 23 cities right now broadcasting with the 3.0 next generation TV. There are no sub-channels like 0.2, 0.3, whatever. They're just main channels right now, held up a little bit by the virus. They are getting there. 16 more channels are expected. 16 more cities will come on board, I should say, in the next 6 months. By the end of June or early in the summer, they're going to add 16 more cities. By the end of the year, 59 more cities are expected to be added. 98 total TV markets or TV cities with all sorts of stations broadcasting 3.0 next generation TV by the end of this year. Where's Tucson? They're not here. Tucson is not one of the 98 cities. Much smaller cities, Rochester, New York, Buffalo, New York, Syracuse, are all part of the 3.0 next generation of TV coming in 2021. Tucson is nowhere on any of the lists that I've seen, and I have seen all 98 cities. So what this means, though, is one advantage, and that means that Tucson cannot be any sooner than next year in 2022. Now remember, when Tucson switches to 3.0, the next generation TV, the 1.0 will be playing simulcast at the same time for 5 years. That means you do not need a new dongle, you do not need a new box, you do not need a new TV for 5 years. So whenever they switch to 3.0, at a minimum of 5 years, the FCC has mandated that all TV stations that switch from 1.0 to 3.0, you do not have to buy a new TV set. Most of the TV sets that are coming out in 2021 now will have the new 3.0 chips in them, but if you want to keep your TV set in Y-switch, the high definition TVs that are out by Samsung and TCL and all the other ones are very good TV sets. And Sony and LG, there is no reason for us to switch anytime soon. But when you buy a new TV set, if you say, I'd like one that's bigger, or I'd like a little more color or take advantage of this, it will have the new 3.0 in it, next generation of TV. I should also point out, too, that when the next generation of TV hits cities, as it has already in 23 cities, Phoenix being the first, people do not need to go out and buy new antennas. An antenna from the 1940s or 1950s will work perfectly fine. An antenna that you have in your home now, if you're getting over-the-air broadcasting, will work perfectly with 3.0. So no new antennas in your room, in your attic, if you have it, or on the roof, will need to be purchased to be able to pick up 3.0. And remember again that you will need, when 3.0 does start, if you'd like to take advantage of the new technology, you need a decoder box, some sort of a stick or something like that, if you want to keep your current TV. And those products are coming on the market today in 2021. They're coming out this year in mass. And as they come out, the prices will drop. Do you have any kind of questions whatsoever on 3.0 next generation of TV? Very briefly, we have one more to cover because this has been big news last week. Big news last week at the Consumer Electronics Show, which this year was held online, obviously, again, because of the virus. It's called Wi-Fi 6. What Wi-Fi 6 is all about is, this is for our home routers. The routers that we now have in our homes are basically called Wi-Fi 5. Those are the routers you'll get if you're using a router from Comcast, Xfinity, Dish, DirecTV, whatever. It's basically at a Wi-Fi 5 speed. There are going to be new routers coming out for Wi-Fi with Wi-Fi 6. It was introduced very recently. The Wi-Fi 6 routers will be 3 times faster than our present Wi-Fi 5 routers. They'll also have a 50% stronger wireless signal in our houses. And you can connect more devices at the same time with this. Up to 60 devices will hook up in one home to Wi-Fi 6. And you understand why in the industry they're looking at this as being very big. You do not have to go out right now and buy a Wi-Fi 6 router. I'm personally just passing on to you that this is something we're going to hear a lot more about very soon, because these routers are now starting to hit the market. The nice advantage too for us being in home for a Wi-Fi 6 router compared to the one we now have is the fact that it'll have much better security features on the router to keep us safe. And because we're going to have something coming up next month on security, one of the things this week are Wi-Fi routers, people with passwords and so on. They're somewhat easy for some people to break in, and that has happened here in our community where neighbors have broke in other people's routers and have been able to use some time on the router. It's going to be much harder with Wi-Fi 6, which is just around the corner. Now, very few devices are going to support this new Wi-Fi 6. However, I would like to point out that Apple, with the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 12, comes with Wi-Fi 6 capability. Sony PlayStation View, Sony PlayStation 5, for example, has Wi-Fi 6. So new devices are starting to come out. If you're interested in Wi-Fi 6, the cost ranges from around $100 to $150 on up. The price of those Wi-Fi routers will drop. You do not need a Wi-Fi 6 router now. And for most of us here in our senior community, we don't need a Wi-Fi 6 router anytime soon. They really help more if you have a house 2,000, 3,000, 3,500 square feet, because they can cover the entire range of the house and without dropping signals, and it comes in very clearly. Is there a need to upgrade to these routers? No, there is not. Netgear, Linksys, Asus are three of the names that have these new Wi-Fi 6 routers now. But guess what? 2 weeks ago, the FCC has improved and updated Wi-Fi signal. It's called Wi-Fi 6E as in Edward, and the E stands for expanded. This is a new standard, and they approved it January 7th, 2 weeks ago tomorrow, or earlier this month. The advantage of the Wi-Fi 6E is that any device that has Wi-Fi 6E already in it, let's say a laptop or an iPad or a tablet, it will have much longer battery life in those new devices. Therefore, Wi-Fi 6E does have a place, and Wi-Fi 6E will work in, you can see next year in 2022, they expect Wi-Fi 6E for expanded to work on over 300 million devices, whereas now it's in very few devices. So that's basically our presentation for today. I thank you very much for joining us. We have covered artificial intelligence for those silly telephone calls made by a voice computer, 5G, 3.0, Wi-Fi 6, and Wi-Fi 6E. It shows all the things that are coming down the pike to make the future closer to being now. It would have been much closer had we not had this pandemic virus. They would have been much further ahead. Thank you very much for joining us today. If you have any questions, feel free.
Unmute yourself if you have any questions. Boy, Sean, I appreciate it. You covered a lot of ground. I'm glad you're keeping us up to date. I think the best news is that we have that 5-year window, because I'm not ready to upgrade yet.
Yeah.
So
Plenty of time.
Plenty of time. So I'm glad to hear that. I appreciate you presenting, and I know how hard it is, and I really do appreciate everybody who prepares to teach a lesson to us. If there's any questions for Sean, if not, let me review the rates. Just the new policy until we get back together in the Fiesta room will be that if you have an existing membership, it just carries over. If you have any new neighbors that have just moved in, let them know they can join for the, not the family rate, but the individual rate for $25 for the family. So at a reduced rate, but that kind of helps us. Of course, if you just want to contribute a little to help us keep afloat before we get back together and get running again, that's always welcome. Let me review again. If you have the time and the the desire to help someone who may not be as tech savvy as you sign up for their injections. We'd sure like to make those partnerships, and I'm sure they'd be greatly appreciated by the people who are struggling trying to get on that list. Just email me, text me, give me a ring, and we'll try to pair those people up. Again, this should be up on YouTube by well, give me till tomorrow. We should get this recording back up on YouTube for anybody that missed it or wants to review it. Because there was a lot of information. I'll probably go through it again myself. So thank you, Jenny. I'll get you back on your Gmail. I don't know what we've got going there. It's been a busy week, but thank you all for hanging in there and attending, and we'll see you next month. Any questions, just give me a call or email me.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.